Hey, it's Nathan from Foundr Magazine, and today we're interviewing Gurbaksh Chahal, the founder of Gravity4, and we're going to see how he's doing it. Today I'm speaking with Gurbaksh Chahal, who's the founder of Gravity4. Gurbaksh, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
So do you prefer during this interview G or Gurbaksh?
99% of the world calls me G, so whatever you prefer.
Yeah, all good, yeah. That's like a very gangster.
No, it's actually just an alphabet letter, so go for the alphabet letter or go for the actual one, whatever you prefer.
All good. So the first question I ask every single one of our guests is, how'd you get your job?
That's a little tricky one because I actually never got a job. I was 15 and my family was going through a financial crisis and everybody was pitching in. So I actually went and applied for the neighborhood McDonald's in between my high school and my apartment where I shared with 7 family members. And I got rejected based on my appearance and the way I looked. And I started, spending my time on what this whole internet thing was about. And from then on, I basically tried a few things, made a ton of mistakes, tried the get-rich-quick scheme route. That didn't work. Yeah. Then I started going to the flea market and buying refurbished printers. And I would buy them for $50 and sell them on eBay for $150. So that's what I did when I was 15. And I got to about $10,000 in cash flow, which is a lot for a 16-year-old. And then I started dabbling in on kind of what was really going on in this big phenomenon of the Valley and the internet. And I was watching CNBC, which is awkward for a 16-year-old, by the way, which, most 16-year-olds are watching completely something else. And I saw this company called DoubleClick go public. And when I saw it basically go public, it went from $300 million to a $15 billion company. And that caught my attention because I said, I want to know more. And the best thing I had going for myself was I didn't really have that fear, because I think the older you get, you kind of grow that fear of all the things you can't do, versus kind of when you're a kid or a child, it's all the things you want to do. And that kind of allowed me to realize, okay, what can I do to start my business in the same respect as this DoubleClick, like a smaller version of it. Yeah. So I went to work, spent 30 days and got my business up and running in the advertising field, small player, small fish in the pond. Started my first business, and then 3 months later got to $100,000 in revenue. And
what was this business called?
I was called Click Agents. Yeah. And it was before search engine advertising took off, it was cost per click advertising on banner ads. And that's what it focused on. And I don't know how to program, even though I'm Indian. Everybody thinks I'm an engineer by default. But I was the guy that picked up the phone and started hustling and cold calling and making the sale. And right when I got to that $100,000 mark, went to my parents and officially asked them to do the most unorthodox Indian thing to do, which is drop out of high school.
Okay, gotcha. And your first company, how'd you get your first 10 customers?
Picking up the phone. But I'll tell you this though, I still remember my first phone call.
Yeah, tell us about that. Can you take us back to that first phone call?
I looked up this agency. It was called Left Field. It was actually kind of the ad agency that was signing up all these big first Web 1.0 companies and advertising companies. And I was, I looked them up on the internet. I found out the clients that they were getting. I looked up the phone number, and I was literally that 16-year-old kid in my bedroom hoping for an answering machine and praying that the answering machine went on so I can just leave a voicemail. Yeah. And somebody answered. So then I immediately went from kind of choking to saying something that resonated to following up on an email, and that process basically, I guess, changed me, because as a child I was very much an introvert, and as a business person, basically my journey allowed me to kind of explore my extrovertness out of it. So first 10 customers, cold calling.
Yeah, okay, awesome. And let's fast forward to now. You know, we're here at Gravity4. What's the vision? What are you working on? What's exciting right now for you?
So what's interesting is just about a year ago, before we actually kind of had our launch, and our launch was July 17th, and I kind of timed it, just because timing-wise it sounded like a cool thing to do, on my birthday. So July 17, 2014 was the birth of Gravity4, but also my 32nd birthday. And my co-founder and I, in the previous weeks, had all these drawings of all the things that we thought we wanted to do. And I think the big aha moment for us was not realizing, you know, what we wanted to do, but kept asking ourselves the question, what if, and what if? And then I still have those drawings today in my dining room where we started, and what we've built in 12 months through 10 acquisitions, soon to be 11, 200 employees worldwide, offices throughout the world, you know, has just been fascinating. And I think that that's where you kind of go with the mindset that success is definitely not linear, and success is definitely dynamic. It's not rudimentary. You can't decide on a piece of paper or a business plan what you're going to do 5 years from now. And you can't go ahead and draw out, and just even our example, you can't draw out what we were going to do, and if we just stuck to that, we would not be here today.
So can you tell us a little bit more about Gravity4, your acquisitions? You know, what are you guys trying to do?
Sure. So since the last 1 year, the online advertising space, and I've been there, so when I turn 33, I'll be officially 17 years in the advertising space. Wow. So more than half my life dedicated to this space. And what we've seen is there's a big growth in online advertising that continues to grow. And as that growth transpires, one of the things that's not gone so well on Wall Street is that these advertising companies that either did one thing or one feature or one aspect of advertising, they've basically hit their 52-week lows, because kind of that hot air has kind of gone away. So what we ended up doing was realizing and saying, okay, where is the market headed toward? And we don't want to go ahead and just compete with ad tech or advertising players. We don't want to just repeat what people are doing today. How can we change two industries at once? First one being software, the second one being advertising. So what we ended up creating was a marketing cloud that competes with Oracle, Adobe, and Salesforce. Except their business model is that they charge per software as a service model. And except we actually give away all of our software for free. We unify the data and we get a percentage of the media spent. So if I'm in the software space, one of the worst companies to, or I take that back, because I know a lot of VCs invest in software, but one of the toughest challenges in running a software company is building a run rate where you can actually be profitable. That's why companies like Box and companies like so forth spend so much money on attrition and so much money on customer acquisition. Software is a very hard business to grow. So in the entire world, there's only 8 companies in the entire world in software that have more than $2 billion in revenue or more a year. Now, if you look at advertising, it's a $140 billion advertising market. It's going to be $200 billion in 2017. So our thesis is simple. If we can automate 1% of it by 2017, we'll be the 9th largest software company in the world. So it's basically disrupting software by making it enterprise free, but making advertising smarter by unifying data and allowing data to go ahead and make the intelligent decisions across programmatic, search, and native.
Gotcha. And I guess that's the way things are moving. Less manual, more automated, right?
Yeah, soon robots everywhere.
Awesome. So, let's like rewind back to the early beginnings. You said you made a lot of mistakes. Can you tell us about some of these mistakes and give us your most two notable mistakes that our audience can learn from you that you made as an entrepreneur?
I think and this is one of the first things I do. I mean, if I'm ever guest lecturing at a college or an environment like that, I am a big advocate of education. So you might kind of say, okay, here's why is a high school dropout giving a lecture to college MBAs or bachelor's students about staying in school when you're such a runaway success. Because when you have to look at it, you have to look at anomalies, and you have to really look at, structurally what makes you successful. And what makes you successful is different than everybody else. And what defines success is also very different for everyone else. So the definition of success is very different. And you have to basically define that for yourself. It can't be monetary. It has to be completely different. So my advice is stay in school and use that opportunity to really learn about yourself. Use that opportunity to actually find that thing that you want to do better than anyone else and focus on it and give it your undivided attention. And if you can dedicate that and give a piece of that to the world, you're going to be a great entrepreneur. And the second advice is, I guess, being a 16-year-old entrepreneur, my first two employees were my brother and my sister, and then I've had 4 companies since, so I've hired hundreds or if not thousands of employees since the last 16 years. So I've made decisions in terms of trusting people, and I think that there's a different level of trust that you have to understand that can't be freely taken away, right? People will take advantage of you. Success comes with a price. Yes. And you're not taught that, right? Everybody's taught what's the easiest way to become successful. There's all these get rich books, Donald Trump style books that tell you, here's what you got to do to be a millionaire, right? I think they're all bullshit because there's no easy way. And the other thing is that once you are successful, there is no roadmap or a book that you can read that tells you, here's all the 10 things to avoid. Because once you're successful, the hardest thing to do is staying successful.
So how do you, you've built multiple 8, 9-figure companies. How have you stayed successful? How have you stayed on the cutting edge of your game?
I've learned to immune myself to certain things. So being an introvert, being a child that was easily bullied, going through my tough years, my lean years, my young years, in terms of being, as an adolescent, not having a thick skin, to now realizing that life's going to throw you obstacles. It's going to give you adversity. You have 2 chances, or you actually have two options, to handle them the right way or the easy way. And the easy way is not handling them at all, and the right way is basically facing them head on.
So if you've sold let's go before Gravity4, you sold one of your companies, what have you done in particular to stay ahead of the game?
Well, success is never static, it's dynamic. So had I looked at that whiteboard piece of papers that now are souvenirs for Gravity4, and just focused on that, we would not be successful today, right? Now, had I, even in these last 12 months, stuck to the initiatives that we had on month 1, month 2, month 3, we would not be successful. You have to continue to innovate. You have to iterate. And you also have to realize you're going to make mistakes. So, I have while I am a philanthropist at heart, business is not philanthropy. Business is the hardest education and the hardest sport in life. And if you think it's going to be easy, you're in the wrong sport, per se. And what you have to go ahead and do is define yourself around a core level of a moral compass you're going to abide by, but also surround yourself around people that are going to stand by you. Because if they stand by you, they're going to go ahead and go through your ups, they're going to go through your downs, they're going to go through your average days. You're going to celebrate them each which way. And as you celebrate them, you're going to go ahead and realize that there's not any battle that you can't overcome. And that's why whenever I interview someone personally, there's two real tough questions I ask them. First question is, what is one characteristic that you value the most in any personal or professional relationship? And there's no right or wrong answer there. But I just want to know from how far are they from my dimension to the dimension that they answer. And to me, the answer is loyalty. Because loyalty is that branch that basically is the foundation of trust, is the foundation of different values that matter through a journey. And the second, more kind of off the topic question I ask is, give me 3 reasons why I shouldn't hire you. And that totally takes them off course, because either they give me genuine reasons why not to hire them, or they actually give me the right reasons why they are going to be that asset that is missing in the organization.
And when you talk about network and support, who do you learn from in particular that is playing at a game higher than you? Who do you look up to?
Well, you can't beat God, so you got to look up to Him. I mean, my name is Gurbaksh, which means a gift from God. My parents named me that because they wanted another son, and so we're a God-fearing family and spiritual in that result. But what I've realized is that people look at role models very differently, and I think that many times people look at them because they see the headlines. They see, let's say, Elon Musk, and he's a great entrepreneur, right? And they see Bill Gates, and he's a great entrepreneur now turned one of the biggest philanthropists in the world, right? And they see Steve Jobs based on the legacies that he was able to accomplish. But a lot of them get sidetracked because they want the end game, and that end game is financial reward, right? So they say my role model is because this guy did this, right? And he got this out of it, right? Versus actually saying my role model is someone that actually is going to make me a better person, that is actually going to go ahead and support me, that is actually going to go ahead and make me a better person, and is going to go ahead and teach me certain things. So when I look at my role model, I look at my grandmother. She taught me the meaning of love early on in life. She raised me. I look at my parents as they're still living. So part of what I do, whether it's personal, professional, philanthropic, it's the legacy that I leave behind for them to admire, for them to see. And that's all I need. And they're not tech entrepreneurs. My grandmother never graduated from any school, and my dad nor my mom were in the tech industry. I mean, if you ask my mom what I did, I think she'd probably say it has something to do with clicking on ads or something. But that's the motivation that you need. And I think that if you can capture that emotion, because emotion is a powerful thing. It drives you to do things, right? And it can motivate you to accomplish things that you think that were never possible.
Okay, so you talk about emotion and I guess having that drive. What are some things that you do to keep fueling that drive? Because one thing, one of my mentors taught me was he said, one day you might not think this, but one day you're going to want to sell your company, or you're going to get sick of it, or you're going to move on and stuff like that. So what do you do to keep yourself, motivated, active, keeping that emotion that you speak of?
Because there's two things that happens in life. You either fail or win, right? And I don't know how to fail, and I don't know the meaning of fear. So if you don't know the meaning of fear, you can't fail. So for me, it's all about winning. And for you to win in business, you can't do the thing that you started off with from day one. You got to keep iterating. You got to keep wanting to go ahead and invest in sources, invest in technology, invest in products, invest in yourself, invest in your team, and go for that win. Yeah. Because if you're bored, that means you're running a lifestyle business. But if you were trying to win at life, if you're trying to win at a greater purpose, you're creating something that's going to have monumental impact across the world.
One question I have actually is also with Gravity4. How did you know when you found product market fit? This is something that comes up a lot, because there's the lean startup movement. How did you realize you guys have found product market fit?
Well, we're starting off with an industry that is 140 billion this year, so there's a need for it. Now, the thing that we're trying to solve is automation, simplicity, and design. So, in a market that's crowded, in a market that is siloed, in a market that's fragmented, we're trying to, rather than glue it together, unify it in a way where automation and simplicity and design drive advertising. So that's the core mission, and how you do it is a fundamental of business. Okay. And that's why I'm a big believer in not product fit, but 99% of everything you do is about execution. 1% is the idea, right? I mean, there have been so many different types of image sharing sites before Instagram. Yeah. Instagram took it off. They executed like heck, right? Look at before YouTube. There was stuff that happened. Some of it has to do with timing. Some of it has to do with just brilliant execution, right? And those are core examples. Look at Facebook. I mean, who would have imagined, turning down Yahoo when they offered them $1 billion? Everybody thought Mark Zuckerberg was the biggest moron. And now it's worth close to $300 billion in market cap. That comes down to execution. That comes down to not settling for something that is static and going for something that is going to continue to iterate and make a difference in the world.
And how do you know when to execute? How do you know when something's ready to go out into the market?
You'll never know. And that's the key secret. And that's where I see most entrepreneurs fail. Yeah. Is they look at their Mona Lisa, right? And most people don't realize this, but Mona Lisa is, a great masterpiece, but Da Vinci never finished it. He took it with him everywhere he went, right? But most entrepreneurs want their Mona Lisa in perfect combination, styled, ready to go, and painted, and then delivered to the marketplace. That has failure written all over it. Because you know what? That's not how you execute. Execution is a game of never being satisfied of your masterpiece, because it's a continual graduation. That's why Da Vinci never finished this.
Let's also talk about, your life as an entrepreneur. Can you tell us about, and this is one of my favorite questions, what kind of sacrifices have you had to make? What have you had to give up to get where you are today?
Wow, that's a deep question. How many hours you got?
It's just...
I would say that, I'm 32 years old, about to be 33 in about 3 weeks. So I gotta go back at life and kind of look at saying, there's a lot of stuff that you do in these years that you're a kid, right? And you sacrifice your youth, but that's okay for me. So when I look at the list of sacrifices I make, I don't feel sorry or I don't feel left out that I didn't get to, let's say, go to the prom or go to the college education, go become a fraternity or do some of the stuff that you see Hollywood portray a typical person to do when they're in their teen years or in their 20 years. I look at that as saying, you know what, I feel blessed because at an age in which you're supposed to go ahead and not think about things, I was able to go ahead and find what I really was meant for. And that in itself is a blessing in disguise.
And how can someone know, like, when they've found what they're meant to do?
How will they know? When their intuition tells them. And most people don't follow their intuition because they're hidden by fear. And that fear resonates with them in a way that it clogs their way of actually realizing what they got to do. I mean, if you wake up every day with the idea of saying, I'm going to do X, Y, Z, right? By the end of the day, you'll probably end up doing it. But if you start thinking about, I think I'm going to do this, but oh, this might happen. Oh, this might happen. Oh, this might happen. You're automatically clogging your way of negative energy that's going to go ahead and preclude you from attaining not just that goal, but happiness in general.
You know, you mentioned winning. You know, that's what you focus on. You know, how do you define winning? Like, what for you? Like, do you set goals like every year, or like goals of the company? You know, what's your definition of winning, and how do you keep moving that needle?
Well, I'll tell you what winning is not. And I think winning and success kind of in this is the same combination, right? What it's not. And if people tell me this in an interview, or if they tell me this just in general, I know that they're going to fail, right? And one of the things that winning or success is not is a monetary goal. So if you basically say, I want to make $5 million and that's success to me, right? I want that Lamborghini, I want that Bugatti, I want that thing I saw in a music video, I want that mansion. You're thinking about materialistic objects that are already precluding you from realizing that 99% of your time, it's about execution. How are you going to even get there? Like, that's an afterthought, right? So that's what winning and success is not. But what winning and success is a combination of 3 traits that you got to have. So just like there's the Maslow hierarchy of success of needs, I have the hierarchy of success, and it comes down to having ambition, then having discipline, and then the top is purpose.
Okay. What about books? You know, what has been some books that are game changers for you? You talked about investing in yourself. You know, what are some books that have changed the game for you?
Well, when I was in between jobs or companies, I actually wrote a book called The Dream. I'm not plugging it by any chance, by any means, but I had this desire that said that since I had this time, 2 years to force time off from a non-compete, I spent my 9 months in writing this book, and basically said that if it had a profound effect on even one person, because my publisher told me this, said that, do you know how many average books are sold per year, per unit? Out of all the books, if you take J.K. Rowling down to Joe Schmo, the first-time writer, the average units of books that are sold. And I said, what number? And they told me 20. So I'm like, okay, all right, so if I sell 21, that means I beat I beat the record, right? So, or I beat at least the average. And so my goal was, if I could inspire at least one person to change their life, to at least think about their life in a different way, to motivate them, to make them realize that some of the mistakes I made, some of the challenges that I faced, you know, whether it was capital, whether it was adversity, whether it was continued adversity, et cetera, how you can overcome them, then that to me is the best 9 months spent. And since then, it's sold over 100,000 copies. It's become a bestseller. And some of the best emails I get per day are not from work, but are from people that I don't know at all, but are from all over the world, and have some way, shape, or form have said that this book changed their life because it made them think about their journey differently. So when you ask me what book changed changed my life, let's say, it was actually that book. Because you know what? I'm even an avid reader of that. Because there's no such thing as Iron Man. There's no such thing as Superman. Even Superman needs to go ahead and realize where he came from, and during those down days get motivated again to realize the greater prize.
Awesome. I'm going to ask, can you tell us about your lowest moment as an entrepreneur and how you handled it?
I would say there's no such thing as a lowest moment, mainly because there's many moments. When I look at kind of my life, not having lunch money, right? Being the immigrant family when I was 4, growing up in the projects and getting beaten up in school and being that bully and going through my teen years and so forth, there's a low point there that you faced, almost on my basis, on a daily basis, right? When I was 16, I decided to start this company. I had no idea I was going to be successful. But then I found success. And 3 months after I turned 18, I sold it for $40 million. So I had no idea what money was. And even when I sold it, you know, the first things I did was I took care of my family and all that other stuff. And yeah, I did the car stuff. Yeah, I did all that other fun stuff. But to me, it was didn't really affect me. Like, to me, money was just like a number. And then when my second success happened, which was even a greater success in 2007 when I sold my second company for $300 million, that's when it amplified even further. And, you know, I got invited to be on Oprah, my book got featured, you know, basically I went from a unknown commodity to a known commodity. And one of the things that I realized is that success and anonymity are something that are probably the most priceless things you can have. Because the more successful you are and you lose that anonymity, it becomes harder to be successful. So some of your low points don't come from something you necessarily do. They come from the exterior parts of the world that actually wants to bring you down. Because when I was 16, down to when I was 21 when I started my second company, down to 27 when I started my third, 32 when I started my fourth, there are people that are in this world that live in a different way. Not the way I was raised, not the way you were raised probably, not the way where anyone in this room is raised. But they're raised in a way that they like to bring people down. So what you gotta have is a thick skin to deal with it. And you're never gonna go ahead and once you lose that anonymity, and this is something that somebody told me, actually my father, says you're never gonna end up losing that process. So don't think it's gonna get any easier, because when you choose that path of success, and when you choose that path that whether it was your choice or not to lose that anonymity, those low points are gonna keep coming. It's up to you to decide to make it, to handle it the right way or the easy way.
Yeah, you talk about thick skin a lot. I'm just curious, like, you know, you've built multiple extremely successful companies. What is it in particular, if you could boil it down to a few things, that you do better than anyone else?
I think I have some exceptional ways of picking some great talent.
Yep.
And surrounding myself around them to work faster into developing and executing beyond that. Outside of that, I'm also a pain in the ass. And I have a very wide degree attention to detail. So whether it is a background score to a marketing demo that we're producing, whether it's to a color that's going on to a product website, whether it's going to a feature on a roadmap, whether it is the product marketing way of actually selling something, whether it's actually the sales collateral, whether it's anything that's around it, you have to have your hands into it. Because one of the other things I've also realized is that you can't be the CEO of a company unless you're the best sales guy. And I'm not saying that to discredit my sales team. I'm just saying you have to be best sales guy. And in order for you to be that best sales guy, you have to have your hands in everything.
Okay. And you say you have an exceptional ability to pick talent. You know, you talked about, you know, the interview questions you ask, but what are some other things that you look for? A lot of people say do hire on character and not on skill. You know, what are some unique things that you look for?
It takes me 5 minutes to basically assess whether this interview is actually going to be something or not.
Yep.
And what I look for is not where you graduated from, if it was an Ivy League school, what your grade point average was, what your SAT score was, what your GMAT score was, or what your, 3 letters after your name are.
Yep.
But if you're going to report into me, I want to actually know more about what's in here. And then I'll find out what's in here. Because if you don't go ahead and connect what's in here, you're not going to go ahead and realize the motivation that I'm here for. Because for the last 8 years, I've not taken a salary. For the amount of success I've been blessed with, I probably shouldn't have needed to work since I was 18, maybe even 25, you can say.
Yeah.
But I choose to work because to me, work and the ability to create jobs, the ability to create something out of nothing, the ability to unify something and create something game-changing with a team globally, right, motivates me enough, right? The end result is, it is going to be a financial point, right? It's not like the music industry where you have Grammys or the movie industry where you have the Oscars. In business, you're judged by numbers, right? So by default, you're successful, that's how you're going to be judged. But for me, it's never been about that.
All right, look, we'll work towards wrapping up. Just one last question. You know, what's your 3 top action items for our audience of young, aspiring, and early stage novice entrepreneurs?
3 points of advice.
Yeah,
Number
3
one,
action items.
Number one, I would say don't waste time. Time is something that's priceless. So when you waste it on things, somebody else is not wasting it. And you can use that time as a variable to figure out who you are as a person and how you're going to carry your life. And if there is a path as an entrepreneur for you, what that path is. Number 2, don't obsess on being a perfectionist, but strive for it. Strive to be perfect, but don't obsess on it. And number 3, execute. Because if you were going to go ahead and tell me that Da Vinci couldn't finish his Mona Lisa, but you're going to finish yours before you take it to market, you've already failed.
Awesome. And, another thing just before we wrap is there any, final words that you'd like to finish off on?
Yeah, I would say the other key thing to figure out that's changed fundamentally since I've been an entrepreneur for now 17 years is that, entrepreneurs are kind of like since the social networks and so forth, they've become more mainstream. So they have more notoriety and they become, public figures of some degree. I would say do not chase someone and say, I want to be the next Steve Jobs or I want to be the next Bill Gates. Be the next you. Don't chase the headline. Be the headline, right? Define yourself, right? So when people say, I just want half as much as success as you, I tell them back and say, no, I wish you twice as much because you're going to do it yourself. You're not going to do it based on copying me or actually trying to strive to be like me. You're going to do this by being yourself because I'm already taken.
Awesome. All right, we'll wrap there. Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
Thank you.